Episode 3, best one yet. Best one yet, you guys. We have our opening scene, and it's Gary crying again. But this time it kind of seems like he doesn't have any tears in his eyes. Is he thinking that he needs to cry this whole time? And it's just fake tears? Be a man, Gary. We'll find out what that means later on. Hi, I'm filming. Can I talk to you later? And we head over to the girls. Girls are just chatting. They're talking about how they're feeling camaraderie, but there's a catch in that they're protecting their heart. Hello. Welcome to this franchise, my friends. Okay. Speaking of friends, you don't have any. These girls are not actually your friends, unless you're into polygamy. Moreover, Kathy's talking about how she's jealous of Teresa's date with Gary. This is important. Tuck this in your back pocket to pull out later. It's a little bit, right now, everything's lighthearted, you know? She's jealous of their connection and also that her clothes are just so tiny, which I'm sure if Kathy tried on Teresa's clothes, she'd slip right into them. The chit-chat ends and Jesse comes out. Every time Jesse comes out, I think that he's the Bachelor. Like he's just what you expect the Bachelor to look like in this show. My brain hasn't quite turned golden, you know. But he comes in to announce that we are in for a romantic one-on-one date and a very fun group date. And the group date starts right now. And I think at this moment, the women are expecting to hear the list of people on the group date so that they can do their little process of elimination and figure out if they get the one-on-one. But surprise, everyone's on the group date. They all throw their hands up in excitement, but most of them are mad. Some of them might not show it. Some of them do. There were some who straight up did not cheer and clap. They just kind of sat on the couch with a half smile. Everyone wants to be on the one-on-one, okay? Now they have to suffer a little bit. But we get the details on the group date and it's a talent show. So this makes sense for everybody to be included. I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of their talents or lack thereof, perhaps. It can be a good opportunity to see people's personality as well as what they're capable of, you know, who they are as a person and their special skills. Now, my question here is how far in advance did they choose their talents? Because, I mean, nothing was over the top, but you need some equipment. But the date gets going and Gary announces that Caitlin Bristow is here to judge. I'm not a Caitlin fan. I actually liked her back in the day. But I'm confused because hasn't she had like a bunch of drama with The Bachelor? Like there was drama with her being the host, drama with Dancing with the Stars. She kind of makes it out like these people really don't like her. Yet she keeps coming back. They bring a lot of the same people back, I've noticed. We need a curveball, like some unrecognizable but historically significant contestant of the past from like year 2007. They can show an old clip and make us go, oh yeah, oh, hey. Right? But Caitlin's here to tell us that the winner of the talent show gets a romantic one-on-one dinner with Gary. So Sandra gets to go first and she puts on a stand-up comedian act and she tells a joke where the punchline is about big boobs. So naturally everyone laughs. Susan does some karate. And what she does, she kicks a board in half. Normally very impressive. This board though, not very thick. I would compare it to the wood that they use for paint stirrers. However, she is on Social Security, so the impressive part here is how high she kicks. So even if it was just, you know, just a piece of paper there, good for you, Susan. Nice kick. And we get Ellen, who comes out and says her talent is teaching sex ed to middle schoolers. I'm interested here because I have been in that boat. Not actually sex ed, but puberty, so kind of the same thing. But the only thing that we get out of her act, or at least all that they show us, is that a hoo-ha is a vagina. I'm feeling like I missed something here. What's the talent? And then Faith, the 61-year-old biker chick who got the first impression rose, she sings on her guitar. And as we remember, she's a very good singer. Saw that one coming, but nice job. April does a beatnik act. Not even sure I'm saying that right, but within it, she admits to Botox. So now I feel a lot less bad talking about it. The door has been opened. Kathy does push-ups in a cowboy hat. Push-ups are my bit, but I'm going to let that go because she is in her 70s. Nancy catches whipped cream in her mouth. This is a little unorthodox. And then Leslie comes out and she's in a boa and a top hat and she dances. Everyone's giving her accolades with the exception of Susan, who kind of just shoves a little dig in there that her moves might be a little too dirty, which I might agree with at certain parts of the dance. But here's my thought on Leslie's performance. She can dance. She has rhythm, but she's not like, let me put it this way. She'd probably be in the background of a Jane Fonda exercise tape. But in her defense, I'm sure Jane Fonda is very selective. So... But then she kind of kills it at the end because she finishes her dance and then she whips out a plate of cookies and says, "And I also bake," feeds one to Gary. I give her props for that. Props, Leslie. And within this time frame, the show pans over to the women who, no, they don't pan, they cut. Okay? They cut over to the women who have sourpusses on their faces, and I'm pretty sure this was a very strategic edit. I just find it very hard to believe that they are all that jealous about it. They just need to make drama because there is none. Yet. You just wait. As everyone's performing, they keep interviewing Joan, who can't stop talking about how nervous she is and she has no talents. So clearly she's up next. And chances are, if we've ever seen this show before, she will do just fine. In fact, she might even win it. But onto the stage she goes and she recites a poem that she has called, "I Hope I Don't Vomit on Your Shoes." She's talking about meeting Gary. Everything's perfectly rhymed. It was a good poem. But as she's, doing her poem, there's this sentimental music playing and everyone's saying, "Aww," including all of the women. So, of course, she kills it. Gary loved it. Everyone loved it. And the winner of the day is Joan. Who knew? And behind the scenes, Leslie is crying. She's crying because maybe he was looking for someone who's not used to being in the spotlight. And I'm happy for Joan. I am, but I'm allowed to be disappointed. In other words, I love attention and thought that a talent show meant that the date would go to the person who got the most attention, me, but the date went to someone who didn't even like attention. No, not really. I guess she was upset that no one ever picks her and thought that this would be her shot. It is kind of sad, and that's fair. So I'm sorry I picked on you. But the date starts right now, Jessie says, which isn't true because they go change their clothes and the sun was up and now the sun is down. So the date starts today. They're at dinner, they're chatting, and we find out that it's attractive to Gary when somebody puts themselves out there like she did. So I'm thinking that the rose was maybe a pity thing, but it wasn't. He actually likes that stuff. They're also bonding over their spouses who pass, which sounds horrible, but again, comes with the territory, I think. But it's a nice conversation. And Joan is opening up about her daughter and how her daughter's giving birth. And then cue Gary's lack of swag again. As he's listening to her, he gets this big smile on his face and says, "I need a handhold for this," and grabs her hand. You could just grab her hand, Gary. You don't have to tell her what you're doing. He's not super smooth, but he owns it. Whatever he's going to do is what he's going to do, and no shame. And then they toast, and she gets the rose. All is well. But I'm seeing them together, side by side, and there's something not connecting. And I think it's an age thing. Like, he feels a lot older than her, like a different generation almost. It's only, I think, 11 years, which is a lot. I mean, if you're my age, it's a lot. If you're their age, it's not. But it's also like she's like super cool and hip, and he's maybe not. He's probably cool for his generation. I don't really know how to explain this. They're on like different wavelengths, like different eras. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. They like each other, so I could be way off. And the next scene is, I'm assuming, the next morning, and Joan is on the phone with her daughter, who just gave birth. And it sounds like maybe it wasn't such an easy delivery. Maybe there were some complications. We don't really know the details. But Joan is clearly upset. And based on her conversation, sounds like Joan thinks it's her duty as a mother to go home to her daughter. So she comes out and she chats with the women. She explains the situation. All the women are now in tears. Even Susan, very empathetic for her. Maybe I gotta stop making her the villain because she's just not giving me the ammo I need. Susan might be an angel with really white teeth. So Joan hugs everyone, and then she's got to go out and chat with Gary. Before this happens, they're doing another strategic edit where they've got clips of Gary just talking about his joy and hopefulness for this, and they want you. They're trying to set us up for death. Not literally. I don't think I can say that on The Golden Bachelor. They're setting us up for the scene where he cries. So Joan meets him outside the mansion. She thanks him for their deep connection and their awesome date, and he's smiling. And then she lays it on him, but in a really just articulate way, talking about what's going on with her family, why she feels the need to go home. And he starts crying. She's crying. And Gary's Gary's just a wonderful man. He expresses to her that he is disappointed, which is very fair. He should be able to share his feelings, but then says he understands. He's not trying to convince her to stay. He's not making her do something that she's not comfortable doing. He knows that her family comes first, so he's letting her go. Even though he said he woke up and got out of bed and started dancing after their date. Poor guy. So I'll never get to figure out if it really is them on different wavelengths or eras. But the maturity, I love it. So good. And then we see her leaving, and then we see the clip of him crying tearless on the bench. It looks tearless. Might not be. Maybe he was just all dried out. Maybe it was post-production and they said, we need a shot of you in tears. And so he had to put his actor pants on. I don't know which one it was. But the sadness is over because in walks designer Michael Costello. And this is fun because I don't know any designers, but I know him for some reason. I think he must have had drama somewhere and I saw it on social media and now I know who Michael Costello is. So welcome, Michael. Michael announces that tonight is a very special date night for Ellen. Ellen gets the one-on-one. And I think we can all assume that she's going to be wearing one of his designs, right? So we get to see Ellen trying on all these different gowns and she looks beautiful in all of them. She can pull them all off. Even there's a very low cut number. She wore it, but she settles on a hot pink, strapless, red carpet-worthy gown and dons it with some nice, it was a necklace, diamond jewelry. Sorry, I'm like mid-burp, but it's not coming up. And luckily on their way to their date, they're taking a limo. So we don't have to worry about Gary's, night vision blindness and dysfunctional headlights and all of that stress. Actually, it's daytime. And they're sitting on a bench somewhere very scenic. Gary's talking about his low-key budget wedding. Ellen's talking about her 25-year marriage. Did she get divorced? Can't remember if she was the one that got a divorce. And then to add to her diamond jewelry, he presents her with some diamond earrings. And who's the designer? No, it's not Michael Costello. It's Neil Lane. But the main event of the date was a hot air balloon ride. This is not a first for the show, but it is still just wonderful. I just love the hot air balloons. And she gets the rose. And just like that, the date is over. It was the fastest they've ever flown through a date on the show. Ever. I know that these shows are only 1 hour, but it could have fit into a TikTok because TikToks can only be 60 seconds. Yes. Starting to worry that I might be eligible for this show. Cut to Teresa, who is worried about not having any one-on-one time with Gary. This is the first date curse. It's like a math formula, an equation. It never fails. Whoever gets the first date always is on just cloud 9, and then they come down to like cloud 5 once they see that other women are also forming connections with the guy. Side note, has there ever been an instance where someone got the very first date and did not get the rose? I'd like to know that. That would be juicy. And then based on some behind the scenes interviews of Kathy, seems she is not too keen on this whole Teresa being upset. I don't know, talking about Gary, basically. She's not too keen on it. I think she thinks she's got this, Kathy says. And here, we have a little drama, a little bit of old lady drama, because Teresa thinks that Kathy's going home. Did you follow that? And Kathy storms off. Edith is picking up on this tension. Edith is basically like pure Zen. Like I imagine her to be in a Zen garden, surrounded by wildlife, and drawing crystal swirls out of the water. But she knows there's tension. And she says the tension is that everyone's dating the same man. There it is. Number 1. That's correct. Number 2, is this the catalyst? Is this the line that sends us from camaraderie to pure discord? And ladies on the couch lady talk is all about how serious this is getting. And then there's a comment from I forget who saying the respectful thing to do is to have dignity for him and dignity for yourself and to keep your mouth shut about your own personal connections. It fell out of context. Like we didn't really hear what she was referring to, but they want us to think it's about Teresa. And it is about Teresa, but still there was a missing piece there. Is Teresa the villain? She might be. She looks like she could be a villain, doesn't she? I mean, now that it's on the table, I see it. But out walks Gary and toasts to tonight's cocktail party. He starts his conversations. He talks to Faith. They basically get it on in terms of their mouths. And then he talks to Kathy. And this is the important part of the night. She's crying, talking about her. She's showing a picture of her dad, and it makes her cry. He hugs her. She uses this as a segue to say, I'm sorry, I just had a really bad day. Were you really crying about your dad, Kathy? And the rough days because of mean people. Uh-oh. Here it comes. Gary naturally asks for details and if there's someone in particular to look out for. And Kathy doesn't say a name, but she does allude to something about initial impressions may not be what they actually are, something. And I'm just confused. What did Teresa say? Did she actually say anything? Anything specific? Or is Kathy just intimidated by her? I'm thinking it's the latter. I mean, was Teresa talking about the details of her date and that's cruelty? I'm just a little thrown off. Is Kathy the villain? Okay. Yeah, touche, Golden Bachelor. But Gary tells her to wait right here. And he goes and he gets her a rose. Now that's a pity rose. I think Gary knows he's just not going to end up with Kathy. But, she's cool enough to keep around another week and he feels bad for her. Here's a rose, good old girl. So Kathy goes out to tell all the women that she got a rose and how it's so great and how Gary just deserves the best. And Teresa says, and so do you. So Kathy, in response, this is what she does. Aw, thanks. And now Teresa immediately pulls her aside so that they can talk. They walk out, and Kathy flashes a cringe face back to all the women in the room. Now, here's what I do like about this conversation, even though it's drama. Teresa initiated it. So she comes, they sit on the steps. Teresa sits on lower steps. Now, I don't have, the best psychology degree. I'm formally trained in Bachelor etiquette. I take this as it's Teresa trying to make Kathy feel comfortable. She's putting herself into a submissive position, letting her know that she's here to listen to her concerns. That's how I took it. I think Kathy, though, took this as an advantage to go on the attack. Kathy tells Teresa that when Teresa comes and tells her about her connection with Gary and all the other stuff, it makes her feel like Teresa is just telling her to pack her bags and get out, and that she's possessive and territorial. And Teresa is just like, I feel horrible. And she kind of starts crying, and Kathy goes, don't cry. So I take it that Kathy maybe doesn't believe her, if I could make a guess. It's like these women don't know how this show works. Cut to Susan. Susan's happy that they went out to talk, because now they're hopefully going to clear the air. She also says, because we're adults, not 20-year-olds. So here, Susan is the voice of reason. Susan is not the villain. I was wrong, you guys. Kris Jenner, not the villain. It's either Kathy or it's Teresa. And right now, I'm leaning towards Kathy. Because she can't handle listening to a woman talk about her connection with a guy that she agreed to date at the same time. And that's all I have to say. But there's drama. Leslie doesn't like the drama. She says she just turns down her hearing aids. Fortunately, most women are like her. It seems like most of them are mature. Not Kathy, though, or that blondie in the blue dress. April. Her name is April, and I need to remember this. I should know it because she's the one who made a calendar full of pictures of herself. Faith, on the other hand, she's also very level-headed. She thinks that things might have just been misconstrued. She's giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. I just love these women. 10 out of 12 of the women. Teresa's got to be like, how did I get roped into the drama on the show where there was just really not supposed to be any drama? She even said, I don't want any part of this. But meanwhile, Kathy's over there, this girl's down. She didn't actually say that, but she'd be willing to. And that's how we know that she's the villain. Kathy is the villain. Not Teresa, not Susan, it's Kathy. And she even looks like a villain now too. She looks like a wicked witch. She didn't before. She does now. This is just the magic of editing. And now all that's left is the rose ceremony, and there's quite a bit of tension. Obviously, the suspense is whether or not Teresa is going to end up with a rose, but she gets one. Sorry if I didn't, build up that suspense for you, but I think we all saw it coming. The only two women going home are Edith and Christina. Christina, we saw hardly any of. Edith was one with a beautiful blowout who can pull sparkly swirls out of the water in the Garden of Eden. Is that why I'm making that connection? I'm sorry. But as Gary's walking out the two women, Kathy and Teresa exchange some words. Not in a bad way. Well, let me just explain it. They're first, whispering to each other how Gary is just such a great guy. He's so intuitive. Kathy's talking about how he came to her, comforted her while she was crying. And then Teresa kind of one-ups her and says, he came into my bedroom while I was bawling my eyes out. Kathy cuts her off. He came into your bedroom? Teresa, that's the stuff I'm talking about. I guess she should have left out that detail. It's kind of an important detail, though. He sought her out. It's not like he went into her bedroom to do inappropriate things. Any normal person would not be upset by that. Now I'm really feeling for Teresa. Kathy, it's got to be a jealousy thing. That's the only explanation. Either You're talking to Kathy and you have to be completely mute or she's going to be so mad at you. I hope Kathy gets a one-on-one next week so that she can come back and see what it's like to not say anything. How careful are you with your words after a date, Kathy? Remember how personality tests are a thing with casting? Kathy did not pass hers. They saw her results and said, bingo. But that's the end of the main event, and the previews show some pickleball, an ankle injury, some four-wheeling, lots of makeouts, and potentially some more Teresa Kathy drama. And our short little end clip is Kathy hating on Susan because Susan farts all the time. Now I like Susan even more. I'm just sorry I ever villainized you, Susan. But if you're still with me, I'd like to know your thoughts on Kathy and Teresa. I could see other people having a different viewpoint than me. Which of the two is in the wrong here, do you think? I'm pretty solid on it being Kathy, but Kathy is very strong in her convictions that Teresa is the one in the wrong here. Maybe they both have some immaturities, but I would say that Kathy pretty heavily outweighs Teresa. Okay, but anyway, enough of that drama till it starts up next week again, of course. And that's when I'll see you guys again. Okay, bye.